Well, as you know, you should know, we have a guest pastor here today. Share a message. Now, he auspiciously looks a little bit like our current pastor. But don't let that fool you. I was telling Joel, I said, are you preaching? He goes, no, I'm just guest preaching. So, and I said, well, no pressure, but Pastor Justin has built this thing up like the Super Bowl. All right, and he's put on every time you turn around on Facebook page, hey, come see Joel Brown, come see Joel Brown. And but I've heard he's got better jokes than Justin. Yeah, I heard he's got, and I heard he has better visual aids as well for his message today. I was telling him about the first time Justin came here and threw that life preserver out in the congregation. Almost had 3 heart attacks out there. He's throwing stuff out there. So anyway, so I did tell Joe, I looked at him, I said, man, you look like Justin when he first got here. Now he's got all gray hair and he's got a receding hairline. Anyway, we welcome Joel Brown and his wife Morgan here. Give him a warm welcome. Get everybody to church.
So normally I would start off with an introduction and let you guys know I'm Justin's younger, better-looking brother. But during the greeting time, I had about 4 of you come up to me and say, you are the better-looking brother. So I don't know where you're getting your information, but it is definitely a credible source. So I don't know about the Super Bowl, but I will say buckle up this morning. This is going to be a fun one. And I do have a visual aid with me. We'll see how this goes. But if you could go ahead and start turning in your Bible to Ecclesiastes. If you're not familiar, take your Bible, cut it in half, and you're going to be in the ballpark. While you're making your way there, I want to read an excerpt to you from Leo Tolstoy, the famous author. He wrote many works of literature and became very famous for his writings, was very successful in the world's terms. But he had this work of art that he wrote later on in life, after he had achieved fame, after he had achieved success. And the work is called My Confessions. So out of his work, My Confessions, he writes this. Perhaps I've overlooked something or misunderstood something. I've said to myself several times, it cannot be that this condition of despair is natural to man. And I sought for an explanation of these problems in all the branches of knowledge acquired by men. I sought painfully and long. Not from idle curiosity or listlessness, but painfully and persistently, day and night, sought as a perishing man seeks for safety. I found nothing. My question, that which at the age of 50 brought me to the verge of suicide, was the simplest of questions. Lying in the soul of every man, from the foolish child to the wisest elder. It was a question that without an answer, one cannot live, as I have found by experience. It was this: what will come of what I am doing today or shall do tomorrow? What will come of my whole life? Differently expressed, the question is, why should I live or wish for anything or do anything? It can also be expressed as thus: is there any meaning in my life that the inevitable death awaiting me does not destroy? Is there any meaning in my life that the inevitable death awaiting me does not destroy? Maybe Tolstoy is not your cup of tea. So Tupac said it like this: Why am I dying to live if I'm just living to die? My young ones in the crowd, Tupac was an evangelist back in the 90s. Don't worry about it. But for your generation, Benson Boone says it like this: please stay. God, please don't take these beautiful things that I've got. We are all built and create with this innate desire for purpose, for meaning. But we're here in life. What is my purpose? What is your purpose? What is the meaning of it all? We have this God-sized void in us. And we try to fill it with all the wrong things. So that's why we're going to go to Ecclesiastes. We're going to be in Ecclesiastes this morning. So when you got a big question in life, like what is the purpose of my life? Let's go to the wisdom literature. You look in this section of the Bible, let's look at the surrounding wisdom literature. You got Psalms, that's the soundtrack to your life. You've got Proverbs, which is a dad kind of bestowing wisdom upon his son about how you navigate the gray areas of life. You have the Song of Songs, which is sex, marriage, relationships, dating. How do we do those things? What does God say about those things? You have Job. How do I handle loss? How do I handle suffering when I feel like life is not fair? And then we get to Ecclesiastes, where Solomon, the wisest man to ever have walked the planet, asked the big question: what is the meaning of life? We're going to pick up in verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in missed the memo on that one. It's all right. Fair warning, there's a lot of readings. Y'all are going to be in great shape by the end of this. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and goes down and hastens to the place where it rises again. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north, and around goes the wind. And on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, there they flow again. All things are full of weariness. A man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it said, see, this is new? It has been already in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of later things yet to be among those who come after. You may be seated. Welcome to church. As Solomon writes this passage of Ecclesiastes, it comes from the word the ecclesia. Ecclesia being the called out ones, those that are called out or gathered for a purpose. Hopefully, if you're here this morning, you're here for a purpose. There's a reason you're here. But we have to ask the greater question of what is the purpose of our life? Our life as a whole. Solomon gets to the point in his life where he starts to write this, where he's lived his life. He's done a lot of the things. And he stops and takes a moment to reflect back on what life has been. And he writes this: vanity of vanities. So before we can go too far, we've got to focus in on this word. 40 times he comes back to this term, vanity. Vanity is a term that means like smoke or vapor. It lacks substance. I feel it for a moment, but I can't hold it. It's not tangible. I can't keep it. It's just like for a moment I can touch it. vapor, smoke. And then he writes, that's life. Vanity of vanities. When he writes back to back in Hebrew like this, that means that it's the superlative. It's like the holy of holies, the most holy place, or the king of kings, the greatest of all kings. Vanity of vanities. Meaningless, meaningless, meaningless. So Solomon gathers all these people. He starts speaking to the people, and the first thing he hits them with is, congratulations, your life is meaningless. Okay, cool. This is going to be a fun one. What does the man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? All this work, all this effort, everything you're putting into your life. For what? But it's not just man. He also points to nature. Because let's take a look at nature. The sun rises, sun sets, goes back to the place where it rises. The wind blows, circles around, circuits. The streams flow into the ocean, but the ocean just never seems to be full. The streams just continue to go. There's this constant cycle that's happening, not just in our lives, but in nature as well. And we act like it's different in our lives. It's the same thing. You go to work. Why? So you can put food on the table. Why do you need food on the table? So you can eat. So you can go to work. So you can put food on the table. So you can eat. And it's this constant cycle. It's what we call the rat race of life. You're in the hamster wheel. That is your life. But Solomon makes a distinguishment in everything he says here. Keep in mind that everything he says is life under the sun. When you try and take a God-sized void of purpose in your life and you try to remove God from the equation, what he's going to argue here is your life no longer carries meaning. It's the constant cycle. It's movement, but no progress. Things just don't seem to change. Now, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands here in a minute. We're not going to think you're Pentecostal. It's fine. You'll be okay. Raise your hand if you know the government-issued name of your grandparents. Do you know your grandparents' name? Okay. Keep them up. Loud and proud. Loud and proud. There we go. Look at that. There we go. You guys could be Pentecostals. I could see it. Now keep it up if you remember your great-grandparents. Keep them up if you remember your great-great-grandparents. As you notice, we got one survivor. As you notice, as the passage of time continues, hands fade. How about this one? This is less than 100 years ago. How many people in here knows who John J. Lawrence is? You guys don't know who John J. Lawrence is? We got one guy over there. One person knows who John J. Lawrence is. Oh, you think we got one? Okay. John J. Lawrence is the man who founded Keystone Heights. In 1925, 100 years ago. It's not even that old. And yet, no one knows his name. But his name is you walk into town, we go to City Hall. His name's right there. No one cares. No one cares. Your name made the wall. It made the building. But no one in here knows who you are. No one cares. Your name made the building, and yet the remembrance of you doesn't last. But we see so many people in their life that are trying so hard to make their name live on. They're trying so hard to make their name pass on. That's why we spend so much time pouring into our MySpace accounts. Okay, see, my wife is cringing. That's the whole point. And then you have the group over here that's so young, they don't even know they're supposed to be cringing. Because MySpace is completely irrelevant. Oh, sorry, let me go more modern. Facebook. Oh, wait, everyone's grandma got on Facebook and started commenting on everything they posted, so they all got off. And they went to Instagram. And then, Instagram, that's the thing, right? That Instagram will live on forever. No, not really that one. That one's kind of fading too. But TikTok. TikTok will live on to infamy. No, it won't. It's amazing how quickly things become irrelevant. It's amazing how quickly we become irrelevant. This is super depressing. Why did he hype this up? This sounds terrible. See, this is new. It has already been in the ages before us. There's no remembrance of the former things. There will be no remembrance of the things yet to come. Things may look a little different. We may work from home to put the bacon on the table. We may do it from a laptop, but it's no different than the caveman who's going out to kill a squirrel with a rock. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, different flavor. So Solomon asked this big question. If that is the disappointment of what life is in the cycle of life, what's the point? What's the point of working hard? What's the point of succeeding? What's the point of all of this thing if it only comes to the same conclusion? So then, Solomon decides he's going to conduct a little experiment. How many of you have done a science fair project before? Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys were as good as me, but my science fair project got this really nice green ribbon. If you're not familiar with the green ribbon, it's the one that says participant on it. That's the school's nice way of saying you're a loser, and you did not make the cut for finalists. But in that project, what you do is you take a theory, you take a thesis. Solomon has just presented his thesis. You're going to take that thesis and you say, let's test it. Let's put it through a series of tests to see the results, to see if we can conclude that what we said at the beginning is true or not. So that's exactly what he's going to do. Picking up in verse 12, it says, I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I applied my heart to seek and search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun. And behold, all is vanity, the striving after the wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were before me in Jerusalem. And my heart has experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. And I perceive that this also is a striving after the wind. For in much wisdom is much vexation. And he who increases in knowledge increases in sorrow. So what Solomon does in this moment is he kind of lays out his resume. I'm going to conduct this experiment. And just like when you do your science fair project and you have to pull in sources that support your idea, you have to bring credibility to your study, not Wikipedia, that doesn't count. But when you have to bring credibility to your study, he lays out his resume. I'm the king over Israel. I'm the wisest man that's ever walked the planet. So when I run this series of experiments and this series of tests, everything that you think is going to fulfill you, I've done it better. The road that you're trying to go down, that you're trying to pursue, I've made it further down that road. You think a big truck's going to make you happy? My truck was bigger. That's what he's saying. He's laying out the things that before he can get to this place where he explains the fact that we have this God-shaped void in us, a purpose, a need for meaning that only God can fulfill. The first thing he has to do is he has to take a sledgehammer to everything you think brings value to your life. And that's exactly what he's going to do. So he lays out his pedigree in this section. I'm the king. I'm the wisest. I've been down each of these avenues further than you have. And that's why I'm qualified to run this experiment. Because I have ran this experiment, and here was my results. So many times in life, we get given this recipe for success of what we think is success, what we think is going to bring meaning to our life. When you're in school, you need to get good grades. Why? So you can go to a good college. Why? So you can get a good job. Why? So you can get a nice house and a nice car. And in that way, you'll be able to support your family in such a way that they can go to school and they can get good grades and they can go to college and they can get a good job. And it's this constant cycle. And see, what happens is we get given this recipe for success. And it's like we're climbing the steps of the ladder. And you're like, okay, I got the good grades. I went to college. I got the good job. And then this thing happens for my younger generation folks that are in here. This is what your parents like to call a midlife crisis, where they make it up the ladder, each step, one rung at a time, only to get to the very top and realize that the ladder's leaned up against the wrong wall. No, you don't understand. I have this recipe of success that was given to me. If I do this, and I get to here, and I get to here, and I get to here, that when I get to the top of that ladder, then I will be fulfilled. And guess what? They get to the top and they're not. One of my favorite pastors put it like this. He said, it's like when you go to the dog track. I know we're Baptists in here. None of y'all have been to the dog track, but I'll explain it for you. It's like when you go to the dog track. And there's all these greyhounds that are ready to hit the track racing. And what happens is the announcer comes over the intercom and he goes, here comes Sparky. And when the dogs hear this, they're waiting for that mechanical rabbit to come popping out. And as soon as that rabbit goes taking off down the track, they open up the gates and the dogs sprint with everything they have to try and catch that rabbit. And then just before they get to the end, that rabbit, boom, dips off the track and the dogs go flying through. And we see who the winner was amongst the dogs. And the dogs are like, oh, not this time. I didn't get the rabbit. I didn't get the rabbit. Next time I'll get the rabbit. Next time I'll get the rabbit and be fulfilled. They're sprinting after this rabbit. Now, every once in a while, the animatronic rabbit will glitch. And the dog will catch the rabbit. You know what happens to that dog when he catches the rabbit? He retires. He retires because that dog won't run anymore. Because he realized that everything he was chasing after was a lie. Sometimes we think that the biggest disappointment that comes in life is the disappointment of failure. The biggest disappointment that comes in life is the disappointment of success. When you actually got what you were going for and it didn't fulfill. When you actually got to the top of the ladder and it wasn't everything that was promised. Because at this point, if you fail, you can say, oh, my lack of fulfillment is because I didn't catch the rabbit. If I would have caught the rabbit, then I would be fulfilled. But when you catch the rabbit and you realize that it doesn't deliver, you don't have an excuse anymore. You don't have an excuse for your lack of fulfillment. A reason why that didn't deliver like you thought it should. Jim Carrey said it like this. I think everyone should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of. So that way they can see for themselves it's not the answer. I don't know if you've noticed this today, but every single quote that I've used is from someone who's not a professing Christian. The world points to the fact that this is true. People go out and live life, and they try and do so apart from God, and they point back to the truth of what Solomon's saying here. That life without God, you strip God out of the equation, and you take a look at your life, it's meaningless. No one will remember you. At some point, you will be forgotten. You might make it on the wall. but it will be forgotten. So Solomon's going to do his experiment. He goes, you know what? I'm going to chase after the three biggest things. The three biggest things I think they're going to deliver. They're going to mean something to my life. He's going to go after pleasure. He's going to go after wisdom. And he's going to go after career and work. So first, pleasure. Experiment number 1. Chapter 2, it says, I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy yourself. But behold, this is also vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure, what use is it? I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine. My heart guided me with wisdom and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. Round 1. Everyone says alcohol's fun. Let's try the alcohol route. Solomon goes to college. So let's try the alcohol route. Let's see if this is going to deliver. And yet we reach the exact same conclusion. Well, there's more to it than that, not just the alcohol. Not just the alcohol. So he picks up in 4, he goes, I made great works. I built houses. I planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. The verbiage that's being used when he talks about the gardens, the parks, this is synonymous Hebrew language with what's being discussed about the Garden of Eden. I made paradise for myself. If my world is a playground, my playground's the biggest. He's coming back to that theme of whatever road you're trying to pursue, I went down it further. I did it better than you. I made paradise for myself. Sorry, page turned on me. And then continuing on, he says in verse 6, I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves. I had slaves who were born in my house. I had also great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who were before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and treasures of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delights of the sons of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Great by the world's standards. Also my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended in doing it. And behold, all was vanity and a striving after the wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. I tried alcohol. I created paradise for myself. I built and created these wonderful things. All the toys, I had them. The big boat, all the stuff, I had all of it. Women, I went down that route too. I had more slaves than you can imagine. I had somebody waiting on me hand and foot for everything, anything that I wanted. I got to have a paradise, and I got to have everyone else take care of it. I just got to enjoy it. Anything that my heart wanted, I didn't keep from it. I've done all of it. And what's my conclusion? Vanity. Vanity. It didn't fulfill. It didn't bring what I was hoping it would bring. I went out and I tried YOLO philosophy of life. Didn't pan out. Okay, well, if not pleasure, there must be another rabbit. I must not have caught the right rabbit. Let me try a different rabbit. See, even better than the dogs, a lot of times we laugh about the greyhounds chasing a fake rabbit. Or even better, we catch the rabbit and we say, oh, that must have been the wrong rabbit. Let's try again. And we keep running the exact same hamster wheel over and over again. So Solomon moves on and says, you know what? Pleasure didn't do it. Let's try something else. Let's try wisdom. So he picks up in verse 12. He says, so I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can a man do who comes after the king? Only what has already been done. Then I saw there was more gain in wisdom than folly, and there is more gain in light than in darkness. The wise person has his eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. And yet I perceive that the same event happens to them all. So he does this little experiment. He goes, let's try both wisdom and foolishness. And he very quickly comes to the conclusion that, okay, foolishness doesn't pan out very well. I know sometimes we look around and we're like, life is against me. My body feels terrible. Okay, part of it is because your diet is chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, and you're 40. Eat a vegetable. It's good for you. Some of this stuff that he's talking about here, the hard parts of life, are because you do it to yourself. So when he looks at the life and the way the world works, we don't defy nature. Nature defies us. As much as you wish that your metabolism still did what it used to do, it doesn't quite operate that good anymore. And you have to change your diet to match this. So what he's saying is there are normal systems in which the world operates. There is benefit to learning how to function within those systems. So very quickly he rules out being the fool doesn't pan out well. There's more value in at least being wise. There's more value in understanding the systems in which the world works and learning how you fit in those systems. Yet, the conclusion is the same event happens to them all. Did you know that the death rate in our country is 100%? Whether I'm wise or whether I'm a fool, I reach the same fate. I reach the same fate. Then he picks up in verse 15 and says, then I said in my heart, what happens to the fool will happen to me also. Then why have I been so wise? And I said in my heart that this is also vanity. For of the wise as of the fool there is no enduring remembrance. Seeing that in the days to come all will be long forgotten, how the wise dies just like the fool. So I hated life, because what is done under the sun was grievous to me, for all is vanity and a striving after the wind. Being the smartest man in the room didn't pan out. Being the guy of status or the guy of intellect didn't pan out. Because regardless of whether you're someone who lives in the town or you're someone who founded the town, the conclusion's the same. Just so you all know, he gives hope at the end of this passage. If you leave early, sorry about your luck. So then he's going to say, you know what? Let's try rabbit number 3, because the first 2 didn't pan out. Let me pour myself into my career. Let's see if that one pans out for me. So he picks up in verse 18. He says, I hated all my toil, in which I toil under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to a man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool? Yet he will be master of all for which I have toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is vanity. Half of you in here know me as the Dave Ramsey guy, because I came out here and did the Dave Ramsey class. We follow the baby steps. You go through the Dave Ramsey class. You build your 401k. You build wealth. You do all the things. And then he comes to the conclusion of, but for what? Because it all gets left behind. You never see a hearse that's pulling a trailer. None of it comes with you. You leave it all behind. And the part that he's arguing with here is, for all that I've worked for, all that I've accomplished, all that I've tried to do in my life, there's a 50-50 chance it gets left to a moron. That's why we had 2 kids, just in case. I'm going to be on the couch. You had 4. You had even less confidence. But for all that I've worked, it gets left behind. Nothing comes with me. And we reach the exact same fate, whether you've amounted all this wealth, this greatness, this status, or whether you're the fool and had nothing. Your conclusion at the end is you walk away with 0. So what's the point? But then he's going to give us a moment of hope. Verse 20 says, "So I turned about and I gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun, because sometimes a person who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed for someone who did not toil for it." Justin said don't talk about politics, so I won't say that part about socialism right here. And I will keep reading. "This also is vanity and a great evil. What has a man from all the toil of striving of heart with which he toils beneath the sun? For all his days are full of sorrow, and his work is vexation. Even in the night his heart does not rest. This is also vanity." How many of you feel anxious and stressed out about your jobs at times? How many of you feel that too much? Just you're a stay-at-home mom, but you can raise your hand. I understand. He asked the question, for what? All this work, all this effort into a career, into a job, to climb the corporate ladder for a company that as soon as you're no longer beneficial to them will forget you. It's reality. You're of value to them while you're valuable to them. Now, bear in mind, God gave us work as a good thing before the fall ever occurred in the garden. He gave man work to enjoy. It's not a bad thing. We are still called to work as unto the Lord and be honorable in the way we work and what we do. But the scope of his thesis is everything under the sun. If your life carries no meaning and there's no God in your life, there is no meaning in your life. God's the one that brings meaning to all of it, to all those facets. He gave us pleasure to enjoy. But just like the vapor here, it's the thing that I feel it for a moment, but it's not like I can hold it and keep it. Because this was never designed to be held and kept. Wisdom is a good thing. Often through wisdom, you're able to help the people around you. You're able to make an impact to those in your life in a positive way. God gives us good things to enjoy. There's nothing wrong with having a pool in the backyard, or the way he says it, his Garden of Eden. There's nothing wrong with those things. Those are things that God gave us as gifts. But whenever you start pursuing the gift over the gift giver, you've missed the point. You've missed the point. He says it here in 24. "There's nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. Apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment?" Apart from him, who can eat and who can have enjoyment? This is the Bible. And so far in Ecclesiastes, this is the first time God gets mentioned. Do you realize how depressing all of this has been leading up to this moment? Because everything he's talking about is a life where you've disconnected the gifts from the gift giver. And he's saying that they'll never fulfill you. It'll never be enough. C.S. Lewis said it like this: if I find in myself a desire which no experience in the world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is I was made for another world. The beauty about this passage is I don't have to convince you of its truth. You feel it. Because you've gone through life and you've chased after things that you thought would deliver, and you caught the rabbit. You caught the rabbit, and it didn't. For my younger audience in here, learn that lesson from your parents as opposed to learning the hard way. I say this to our youth all the time. They're at that age where they're waiting for the one. You know what I mean? The one. The one who's going to make all my dreams come true. The one that you're after, his name's Jesus. And what you're looking for is someone who's going to come alongside of you and chase after that with you. Because what you're going to do is you're going to find the one, and you're going to walk in with God-sized expectations of what they're supposed to fulfill in me. And they're going to disappoint you. You know why? Because they're not God. And you're asking them to fill a void they never could. So then you're going to walk through all this disappointment, and you know what you're going to say? Wrong rabbit. He must not have been the one. She must not have been the one. There must be another rabbit out there. There must be another rabbit out there. Let's chase that rabbit. If you're looking for fulfillment in anything in life apart from God, because God designed you with the void. God designed you with the purpose of knowing him. You were knit by God in your mother's womb. He knows you. He created you. The whole entire premise of the Bible is God's desire to be in relationship with you. In the very beginning, Adam and Eve in the garden, in relationship with God, walking with him. You have the fall. Then after the fall, you go through the Old Testament where they're given this sacrificial process of basically a covering of their sin. Why are we covering our sin? So you can be back in relationship with God until the ultimate sacrifice comes, which is Jesus Christ on the cross, who dies in your place for your sin so you can be in relationship with God. The entire void that we feel is our desire and our longing to be in relationship with our Creator. And yet, we spend most of our lives chasing the creation and not the Creator. Obviously, I don't know most of you. I don't know the ins and outs of your life. I don't know where you're at with this. I don't know where you're at with God. But I do know this. If you haven't given your heart and your life to him, you are going to be stuck living in chapter 1 and 2 of Ecclesiastes. And you can chase things, and you can tell yourself there's other rabbits. If I could just get a few more steps up the ladder, if I could just get a few more steps up the ladder, then I would find satisfaction. Keep telling yourself that. Keep telling yourself that, but walk around and talk to the wisdom that's in the room. There's wisdom in the room that will tell you, I did the things I thought would make me happy, and you know what? They didn't. Man, if I just had that boat, okay, then you get the boat. Then it sits up. And all that joy that it was supposed to provide and fulfill just doesn't seem to last. It seems to be nice for a moment. You just can't seem to keep it. So then we have this graphic. This graphic has burned in my brain over the last year. Mostly because my heart is extremely burdened for the church. Because if I'm being dead honest, the church in America, that's what it looks like. I believe in God. No. I believe in God. I go to church on Sundays. I believe He's real. Awesome. You're right on par with Satan. Satan knows he's real too. Congratulations. Even the demons believe and tremble. That's what Scripture says. You believe in God. Awesome. Do you follow Him? Do you obey Him? When you come to different points in your life, and the Bible says this, and I choose this, that's not obedience. He's not Lord. And every time you say this, you're chasing the rabbit. Because you think that what He has for you is not going to answer, and it's not going to fulfill. But in fact, it's the only thing that will. It's the only thing that will. Let me just be clear, because I've had too many of these conversations. If I say, do you know Jesus this morning? And your response is, yeah, in 3rd grade I said that prayer. Awesome. I'm glad you said that prayer. Are you following Him? Are you following Him? Saying I said a prayer and then disconnecting your life from God and saying I'm going to live my life however I want, that's not salvation. That's not giving your heart to Jesus. That's repeating a prayer that someone said, repeat after me. But God calls us to submission. And He says, you know what? My way's better. You will find more fulfillment in doing it my way. How many times do you have that exact same conversation with your kids? How many times? Rosie, baby girl, if you do it this way, it will be 10 times easier. Nope, we're going to do it this way. 10 hours later. It's not an overlord who's coming down from on high saying, do it my way, or lightning strike. It's coming from a father who says, I'm bestowing upon you the title of son and daughter. Son and daughter who I was willing to leave heaven behind to come on a rescue mission on your behalf, to jump on a cross and take on your sin and the wrath of God so you didn't have to, just so I could be in relationship with you. You question His love for you, He's already displayed it. You question what He's willing to go through for you, He's already displayed it. It just leaves the question of, will you accept it? So I'm not asking the question this morning of, do you believe in Jesus? I'm asking the question of, is He the Lord of your life? It says in Scripture, there will be that day. Many will say, Lord, Lord, did I not prophesy in your name? Did I not cast out demons in your name? Did I not serve in children's church in your name? Was I not a member of the church? Did I not stand up and preach a sermon? Did I not lead worship? Depart from me. I never knew you. Relationship. God's desire, God's design all along is to be in a relationship with Him, and it's the only thing that's going to bring fulfillment. If you could bow your heads and close your eyes with me. God, I'm thankful for your word this morning. I'm thankful for the truth of your word. It's sobering, and it's hard, And life is hard. But God, you have something so much bigger for us if we will just accept it. God, I'm just mindful of every heart and every soul that's in here this morning. God, if they don't know you, I pray that you just make that abundantly clear to them this morning. I pray you make it abundantly clear if we're chasing after a life and the purpose of it isn't you. Lord, we love you. We're grateful that you love us, and we're grateful that you were willing to come and die on a cross on our behalf, to pay a debt that we can't pay. And not just to pay a debt that we can't pay, but God, to give us purpose and meaning in life, because without you, there is none. So God, I pray you just bring us to that sobering reality this morning of life. And I pray that we just surrender it all to you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.